What's up, guys? Welcome to the Second Take. Some people say the West Coast is the best coast, but we like to say the Second Take is the best take. I'm Zach.
I'm Jonas.
And we hope you guys liked our last podcast, but we most importantly wanted to say thanks for listening and subscribing, and please continue to pass on the word to all your friends. So today we're going to talk about our picks from the first round, second round of the tournament, break down some of the games, what surprised us and what we liked, and then give you our records and keep going from there into the Sweet 16. So far, I'm 36 for 48, Jonas 33 of 48, but I only have 2 Final Four teams left and 4 Elite 8 teams left. Thanks a lot, Kentucky. Thanks a lot, Michigan State. Jonah's in a different boat a little bit.
Yeah, I got 3 Final Four teams left and 5 Elite 8 teams, so I'm in a little bit better shape going forward. Zach did better early on and picked some of the upsets that I was not able to pick. But, yeah, I think we're pretty even for the most part so far, so I'm not sure we know who to trust next time yet. But
yeah, I mean, you still have your champion in, so that's a little bit helpful.
That's true, that is nice.
But, so before we get into the actual regions, we're going to talk about one of the worst things in sports, and that's officiating, and just how bad it's been in the NCAA tournament so far.
Yeah, it breaks our hearts every year. This isn't a new story. But they're just games, and ironically, your Duke has played some games where it was one of the biggest problems, just in terms of how many fouls were called.
What a surprise.
Yeah, and you have just this problem where officials, and this isn't all officials, there's definitely some good officiating too, but you don't want officials inserting themselves into the game, making themselves part of the action.
Yeah, exactly. The goal, I mean, you don't want to know the official's name by the end of the game, and when you have to know it, that's a serious problem.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite thing is when the broadcast starts and the announcers name all 3 officials, and they're like, yeah, 3 of the best officials in the game, and then they literally say every game.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just been. I mean, the NCAA changes the rules to try to get more scoring, which is great. I mean, who doesn't like scoring? But it's not it's not regular scoring. It's free throws.
Yeah, half of it's free throws.
And then you have Duke. Brandon Ingram's had 4 fouls before the 10-minute mark in the second half the last 5 games. Sure, that's partly on him, but it's also on the rules. I mean,
right.
You're making a rule that you literally cannot impede the progress of an offensive player to the rim, which is, to me, the definition of defense.
Yeah, I know. There's been definitely a crackdown on hand checking too, I think, which has caused a lot of defensive fouls. But yeah, you just see on these drives to the basket, these block calls getting called in a second.
Yeah.
And just sure, it's leading to more points, but they're coming from the free throw line and slowing the games down.
Definitely, yeah. It's terrible. And in the NCAA tournament, when they're playing games in the same court, then you have a 2.5 hour game, then you got to wait half an hour to warm the other team up. Then by the time they're playing, Duke is about to be playing at midnight on Thursday.
Right, exactly. These games are ending later and later, which is not good for the television audience.
Yeah, and I have no problem with the new rules are fine, whatever. No hand checking, great. But some officials call it, some officials don't. The teams have no idea who's going to call it and who's not. Then they don't know how to adjust to it, so it just gets worse and worse.
Right, and the problem in the NCAA tournament is it tends to be called differently in different conferences.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because the officials in the tournament come from different conferences, so you don't know what you're getting coming into the game. These teams aren't used to the certain way that these games are going to be called, so it just leaves a lot of inconsistency, I think.
Yeah, and when we talked earlier this week, I said that basketball officiating is easily the worst of all sports. I mean, baseball is probably the hardest, and they do the best job by far. And
yeah, I'm always
football's not even bad.
Baseball, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's enough harping on officiating for us. It already made me upset.
Yeah, we wouldn't be real sports fans if you didn't complain about officiating fairly often. So
exactly.
We have to deal with that, listeners, every now and then. So do we want to get right into the South region?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So this was actually a pretty straightforward chalk region in the end. By the time we got to the Sweet 16, we're kicking off at a Kansas-Maryland matchup that both of us predicted.
Yep.
And this is a super super interesting matchup in my opinion.
Yeah, everyone's saying Maryland's got more talent. I do believe that, but I don't think they have a better team by any stretch of the imagination. I told you before the tournament started, don't pick Maryland. And although it would have cost you 2 wins, they did get quite the easy draw.
Yeah, they did. They didn't have trouble with Hawaii.
Yeah, and I think a fully healthy Cal team probably could have given them a run for their money.
Right, but Cal was like a mess against Hawaii.
Yeah, I don't know. Hawaii's not bad, but Cal just doesn't. They're not ready. They're not even close.
No. But, I mean, those guys might just jump right to the NBA this year, but I don't know. Especially Jaylen Brown did not impress me in that game.
Yeah, I think he had more turnovers and fouls than he did points.
And the kid did not disprove everyone's opinion of him, which is that he cannot shoot.
Right, but, I mean, we talked about this earlier too, but Ivan Rabb really impressed both of us. Just the way he plays
Yeah,
and
if
hustles.
he can find a position in the NBA, then he's going to be successful. If he can just get in the gym and work on a solid jump shot and turn his game into a little bit of a stretch four game, if he can turn into a poor man's Millsap, which I think is something that is possible, then I think he could turn into a really good NBA player.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, at this point right now, he's probably a 6th, 7th man kind of big guy coming off the bench, eat up some minutes and get some rebounds.
He reminds me a little bit of Jared Sullinger, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say Derek Favors.
Yeah, but those are both similar type of players. Like, they're not huge, but, like, they bang the boards, they get rebounds. They're able to do some stuff. If they can develop jump shots, then they could be on a level as successful and as valuable as Millsap. Even like a poor man's Aldridge type.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of work to do to get there, but it's possible.
Well, right, of course.
So who are you thinking in this Kansas-Maryland game?
I'm going to stick with my earlier bracket prediction of Kansas winning this game. I just think that Kansas is a team that's absolutely built for this tournament. And we'll break them down a little bit further later on. But one guy that I am a huge fan of, having seen even just since the Big 12 tournament, that I've been watching him more extensively, is Wayne Selden Jr. He is probably one of the most explosive players in this tournament. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. He's got some ups, he's got some jump shots, he's got it all.
Yeah, I mean, his stats don't leap off the page. He's averaging 14, 3, and 3 for the season. But he's a pretty good three-point shooter. He's shooting 40%. And he is just so athletic. He can explode at any time. And I think that Maryland's going to have its hands full guarding him. They're capable of doing it, but I think it's going to be a matchup that they're going to have some trouble with.
Yeah, the one thing I like with that matchup is probably going to be Jake Layman on him. And on the other end, Jake's got about 5 inches at least, I would say.
Yes, Selden is listed 6'5", yeah.
Yeah, so Jake's got a good 5 inches on him, and I mean, Jake doesn't really have much of a post game, but I think it'll definitely help. I still don't really see Maryland getting by Kansas. I do like Melo a lot so far, though. I mean, I think he had 18 in the first game and then like 22 in the last game against Hawaii, but he's starting to play better, getting to the lane again, drawing his fouls like always, like every other college basketball fan hates. And I just think if he starts knocking down threes, which hasn't happened in a long time, Kansas could be in a little bit of trouble. I don't expect it to happen. I think Kansas is just a better team and will pull it out and go about their business as usual. Just impressed us so far by not being bothered by literally anything and just keep banging down wins until they get to the Final Four.
Yeah, they opened up a huge lead against UConn in the second round, and UConn crawled back into it a little bit, but they were never really a threat to win that game. And UConn's a pretty solid team.
Yeah, that's a great win.
Right, so I thought that was an excellent win for Kansas. They put up 105 in the first round. I mean, that is against a 16 seed, but
against an 8 seed in their conference tournament too.
Yeah, but still 105 points in an NCAA tournament is always an impressive number, and I think this team, like, their big reputation is always they're consistent and disciplined, but they're definitely more explosive than people give them credit for.
Yeah, I think their guards are very, very, very good. I mean, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I really like their backcourt a lot. All right, so we're both going Kansas here?
Yeah.
Of course. They're the one team that's really just done what they were supposed to do so far, in my opinion, at least.
Well, I think North Carolina's been taking care of business. But,
yeah, but they've been more shaky than Kansas, and you also have to say that.
Yeah, they had a rough first half, certainly in the first round. For sure, they're scaring me. We'll talk about them later.
All right, so we're going Kansas over Maryland there. I think it'll be double-digit game, but it's never going to be out of hand, I hope, at least. So now we'll go to Miami and Villanova, two teams that we weren't extremely high on to start with.
But have both been very impressive.
Yeah, Villanova's made 23 threes in the first two games, most out of anyone in the tournament.
Yes.
That's pretty impressive.
They absolutely dominated Iowa.
Yeah, that was a 30-point game before it started, I'm pretty sure.
That game was never, ever in doubt. We were not that high on them going into the tournament, as you mentioned, but I think that both of these teams, Villanova and Miami, have something to prove in this game, having not had a ton of NCAA tournament success in recent years, despite having some pretty high seeds.
Definitely, and I think Miami's win over Wichita State was a very, very, very good win. They got out to an early lead and just kept fighting and hung on.
Yeah, and it was an 8-point win, and it was not as close as the score indicates.
Right, and Wichita State's a team that's never going to give up, so to be up early and keep that lead for 40 minutes is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, do you want to talk about Angel Rodriguez? Because I know he was the best defender of both of us.
Yeah, against, in my opinion, the best defensive team in the NCAA, in Wichita State, has 28 points, 9 for 12 from the field, doesn't miss a free throw. I mean, he just absolutely dominated a matchup with Fred VanVleet, who's maybe the best point guard in college basketball.
Yeah, this kid was everywhere in that game. He was all over the place. He was getting steals, making plays, getting buckets. He was absolutely the most significant person on the floor in that game. And that was a game where you had Fred VanVleet, Ron Baker, some other great players that Miami has, including Sheldon McClellan. And Angel Rodriguez, very generously listed at 5'11", was absolutely a dominant presence in that game. I was very impressed by him.
Yeah, and the one thing I liked the most about it was before the game, he told everyone he couldn't wait to play Fred VanVleet, and I always look at that as a competitor to see, like, this kid is going up against one of the best point guards in college basketball, and he can't wait, and all he wanted to do is show the world that he can compete with them. And he completely outplayed him. And he was the reason Miami's in the Sweet 16 right now.
Yeah, and his post-game interview, did you see his post-game interview?
Yeah.
They interviewed him post-game, and he was like, you could tell that he was out to prove himself, and he's going to be certainly a handful for Villanova to deal with.
Yeah, and he was a little bit against Archie Diacono there. I'll let you talk about him.
Yeah, Archie Diacono, I think... I'm a little bit hesitant to compare him to Aaron Craft because people will think that that's just because they're white point guards. But this guy is he's a leader on both ends of the floor in a similar way that Aaron Craft was for Ohio State. There are more explosive players on Villanova, but there's a reason that he's considered the leader and the most significant player on this team. And he can do a lot of things. He can shoot threes. He's shooting 37.5% for the year. He's a good foul shooter. He's averaging 12 points, 4 assists per game. He's just a really consistent player, and I think that that he's really the engine that makes this Villanova team run, despite some more flashy players like Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, I think he's a senior, right, Archie Diacono? Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate because I think if Jalen Brunson could have developed a little bit quicker and you could have moved Diacono to the 2 every now and again, he's such a knockdown shooter.
Yeah, that could have been absolutely dominant backcourt.
Yeah, I mean, he came into college as a knockdown shooter and hasn't been able to get his shot much because he had to create for others, which he's been great at. But I think he definitely has the potential to get hot here in a tournament like this.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a good game.
going to be one of the best games of the Sweet 16.
Yeah, definitely. I think you like Miami, right? Or Villanova?
No, I like Villanova in this game.
All right.
I like what I've seen a lot out of both teams, but Villanova always had a lot of potential to be good, but I don't know, both teams have shown me a lot, but I think Villanova I think this is the year that they make it to the Elite Eight.
It would be a long time coming.
Yeah, but this is a game that could really go either way.
Yeah, it's going to be close, I think, the whole game. I think Miami's a little bit better defensively. And
yes, I agree with that.
I mean, inside, there's not really a post presence on either team. Jakiri and Ochefu are both solid defenders, but they're not going to score the ball much for you.
Right, so that feels like kind of a wash to me. I just like.
Yeah.
I think Villanova has been more consistent scoring than Miami has.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I picked Miami. I'm going to go with Miami with McClellan and Angel Rodriguez to take over and get another one and bring Jim Larinaga back to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, it's difficult to argue with the ACC in this tournament.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
they've really shown to be impressive.
One team lost.
I mean, they have, 6 teams in the Sweet 16, right?
Yeah, 6 of the 7 that made the tournament, and the one team that lost, their coach is gone, so.
Right.
All right, so we got Kansas against Miami, and you have Kansas against Villanova.
Yeah.
Who are you going to go with in that one?
I'm going to continue to ride Kansas all the way to the Final Four. I think that they're the one seed that has the best chance of doing that. I think that Kansas and Villanova are both very disciplined teams, but Kansas has been there before. They're a very experienced team, extremely well coached, and I think that they have a front court presence that Villanova doesn't have, and I think that would make the difference in that game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kansas as well. Don't see anyone beating them, especially if they keep playing like they are. They could even have a bad game and still win a couple. I think that's the trendy pick to get to the Final Four since the tournament started from that region. And
yeah, absolutely.
It's looked like a lock ever since.
Yeah, that's the most common Final Four pick that I've seen from people that I've talked to.
And it's the one that's still surviving, really.
So we're gonna both put Kansas in the Final Four in that region.
Yeah, which is gonna bring us to a little segment we're gonna do, breaking down a team. And this week we chose to break down Kansas because, one, they're one of the best teams in the tournament, if not the best, and they're also one of the best teams that's still in the tournament so far. So we're going to just give you a rundown of their lineup, who plays and what they do and all that kind of stuff. We're going to start with the backcourt with the tandem of Mason and Devontae Graham, both averaging, Graham averages 11, Mason averages 13 a game, both 4 assists, 4 rebounds. I mean, Mason's just such a leader, and he's been there, experienced, gets him into their stuff, but I think Devontae Graham this year has made him a lot better than he used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been especially impressed by Devontae Graham. Not that he's better than Frank Mason, but we all knew that we were getting good things out of Frank Mason.
Yep.
I think that Devontae Graham's not a big guy. He's his weight's less than 175, but he's definitely the guy to watch for this team if they're going to make a run all the way to the national championship. If this is the year they get another banner, I think that it's going to be Devontae Graham that's going to be making a lot of the difference there.
Definitely. He's gotten very hot in the Big 12 tournament and so far in the NCAA tournament making a lot of threes, which they really need.
And as I've talked about before, I'm a huge fan of Wayne Selden. He just plays with so much intensity, and as I said before, he's just a bomb that can go off at any time. And if he gets going, then he can look like the best player on the court, even with all the other great players that Kansas has. And so I'm a huge fan of what I've seen from Wayne Selden. He can play above the rim, he can shoot, And he's averaging 13 points a game too. He's not just like an off the bench scorer.
Yeah. The one thing I worry about with him a little bit is sometimes he can get lost in the offense. I think that's more of the style Kansas plays, trying to feature the post. If that does happen, it's definitely a problem for Kansas. I've seen halves where he has 0, but he'll come out in the second half and drop 20. So he just needs to make sure he plays with some energy. If he gets an early dunk, watch out. He might go off for 50 that night.
Right. Yeah. I mean, exactly. He can go off any time, but at the same time, there are times when his performances aren't so good. I mean, in the win over Kansas State in the Big 12 tournament, he only had 5 points, 1 for 6 from the field. So there are definitely going to be games for him where he's quiet. But I think that ultimately he's a pretty solid NBA prospect, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. So then that brings us to their inside. I don't even know. They have so many inside players, like you don't even know what to call it. But it starts with Perry Ellis, 17 a game, the leading scorer. He's one of the most relaxed basketball players I've ever seen. He'll just catch, do what he wants. Yeah. I've really never seen him be sped up, even against like West Virginia. He just gets it where he wants it and does what he wants with it. And
and there are not a lot of guys that can stay relaxing against a team like West Virginia. Obviously, I mean, he's not a big dude. He's only 6'8", but he controls the game in a way that makes him seem bigger, almost. Like he's just like he's so consistent. You can count on him for anywhere between 15, 22 points in every game. He's always going to come through for them. He always has, and he's a big reason why people are riding Kansas, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So then he's going to be their go-to scorer and go-to offensive player. But then they have Landon Lucas, who, funny story, was selected by the team as the 5th starter. Bill Self met with Mason, Graham, Selden, and Ellis and asked them to pick one guy they wanted to be the 5th starter, and Landon Lucas was the answer, just because he's such a hard worker and always does the dirty work, gets the rebounds, battles. He'll guard the best post player, and he'll pretty much give him everything he asks for.
Yeah, I mean, I like what I see from Kansas' front court, not just because of Ellis, but also because of their bigger guys, just their bangers down low, which Ellis, as good as he is that.
Yep.
And so it's important that they have guys like Lucas, 6'10", 240, and he's definitely been a big factor for them.
Yeah, and then Jamari Traylor off the bench is pretty much like Landon Lucas, so we won't go too much into him. But then they have 2 freshmen, Check Diallo and Carlton Bragg, who are just so good, but they don't really get that much of a chance just because Kansas is so talented.
So deep, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Diallo, I've heard, doesn't know the plays, which is why he doesn't get a lot of minutes, which is a little bit scary to think that he's gone through a whole season and still can't get a hold on, 10 plays, 20 plays. But Bragg is pretty solid. They both average about 4 points a game, play about 10 minutes. If there's foul trouble inside, which I don't expect for Kansas against a team like Maryland, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think you give Diallo a little bit of a break. He's had like a long saga with NCAA eligibility.
Shocker.
And he comes from a background where he's not that familiar just with high level basketball.
Yeah, and I think he started in 9th or 10th grade. So.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. So I think with time he'll become a big contributor on this team later on.
Yeah, definitely. So then,
and I'm a big fan of Michaela. I know.
Yeah.
We were getting for him. It's kind of a jarring name to see on the Kansas roster. Not normally a lot of European guys on that team, but this guy who is scarily 5 months younger than me he's a knockdown shooter. He's gonna be a very useful guy for this team if they just need a dose of shooting. I've been impressed by what I've seen from him.
Yeah, and speaking of shooting, Brendan Green coming off the bench is what Bill Self says the best shooter he's ever had. Which, I mean, for a coach of that caliber to say that means a lot.
I shoot yourself, yeah.
Yeah, so if they're both feeling it that day, it's going to be a long day for anyone who plays them. But
yeah,
those are the scorers off the bench pretty much, and then the other guys are just kind of the minutes guys.
Exactly.
So yep, that's our breakdown of Kansas. They're deep, they're good, and that's why they're where they are now, and they're going to continue to be where they are.
Arguably the favorites for the title, I think.
Yep. So then we'll go from that segment to a little quote that's going to make us take a second take. This is from Shaq. I listen to Shaq's podcast. It's called The Big Podcast with Shaq, believe it or not. He said a couple weeks ago, I've never worked out over the summer. I knew I was good enough to get 20 and 10 being fat and out of shape, so I just didn't care to work out at all. In my opinion, one of the best big men of all time, and to see that he didn't even put in any effort or work whatsoever until after the All-Star break every single year and still was the most dominant big man is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think that tells me a couple things. It tells me one, like, wow, how good would he have been if he had been in shape?
Seriously.
Because he's already probably one of the 10 best players ever.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. And so for him to have done that without being in shape at all, it's just incredible.
Yeah, he said he would go. They're always in the playoffs. So whatever happened, they win the championship or they lose in the finals or something. Then he takes the whole summer off, rests his body, and literally does whatever he wants. Eats whatever he wants, drinks whatever he wants, whatever. He'll go into the season, get 20 and 10 up until the All-Star break, make the All-Star team, and then he said he would start hear people saying like, "Oh, Kobe's the best player on this team. Kobe's playing so well. Oh, Michael's doing so great. Tim Duncan's the best inside presence in the NBA." And he'd be like, "All right, Shaq, it's time to turn it on." Then he'd work out like crazy until the playoffs. Then he'd average 30 and 15, and then he would just take over.
Right, I mean, that's the underrated part of this, is that I don't buy this whole thing that Shaq and Kobe are like all good now. Those two guys hate each other.
Yeah.
And they always hated each other.
Yeah.
And if hatred of Kobe in competition with Kobe could make Shaquille O'Neal work out in the off season or like at the All-Star break, like that must have been a pretty powerful force because there was not a lot of things that were making Shaq work out.
Yeah, that was literally the reason they were as good as they were, is because the two best players on the team could not stand each other and wanted to outplay each other, and then they outplayed each other all the way to how many rings? 3?
Yeah, it's just incredible because if those two guys could have figured out a way to stand each other, and those teams had stayed together, that could have went from 3 rings to 7 real quick.
Yeah, that could have potentially been the best team of all time.
Yeah.
So that's our quote of the week for you.
So speaking of the best team of all time, Duke's playing Oregon.
Yes, they are. And you mean Duke is the best team of all time, right? Not Oregon.
Oh yeah, of course. That's what
right. So the West region, if you like offense, tune in because there's not defense to be played for these 2 games here.
There's no defense to be seen for miles around.
Which is completely fine with Duke because we don't like to play defense either, and hopefully nobody else does.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty interesting region. This ended up coming out chalk all the way.
Yep.
I mean, not all the way in the first round, but in the Sweet 16, you just got the top 4 seed.
And even in the first round, you got the upsets that most people were expecting with Northern Iowa and Yale.
Yeah, I got Northern Iowa, Yale, and VCU all the way.
Oh, right, yeah, VCU.
Round, I got the first round completely right there, and I got the second round right, except St. Joe's broke my heart, was not able to knock off Oregon in the end.
It was close.
That was close, though. I knew that was going to be close. I love Wes from St. Joe's, but it wasn't enough to get past Oregon.
So that kind of brings us to the point that these teams are all pretty battle-tested. Oklahoma had their hands full with VCU. took all of Buddy Hield's, 36 to get through that one. Texas A&M having potentially the greatest comeback in NCAA history, scoring 14 and 2.
Talk about that game for a second.
Yeah, please.
Because they overcame a 12-point deficit in the final minute.
Yeah, outscored them 14 to 2 in the last 31 seconds.
Like the magnitude of that, I don't think people are talking about that enough. Like, it's absolutely one of the most incredible things we've seen in the NCAA tournament. My heart breaks for Northern Iowa in that game. And it was certainly difficult to decide which game to watch with the Wisconsin Xavier ending happening basically at the same time.
Unfortunately.
But that was just an absolutely gritty performance from Texas A&M.
Definitely. I think what, in my mind, is one of the best plays, or at least smartest plays I've seen in a long time. Trapping Washpun in the corner with the clock literally running out on them, knowing that was the best chance they had.
Yeah, when I was watching that game, I was incredibly impressed that they didn't just foul him, but they had the presence of mind to trap him in the corner and get an easy turnover. I guess the smart move for Washington would just be throw the ball to the other end of the court, throw as high in the air as you possibly can.
Yeah.
But you can't blame him for that not going through his mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's getting eaten alive by two guys.
Yeah, and that was another game where he had a lot of foul trouble, speaking of.
Yeah, shocker there.
The officiating. Although, it did go into double overtime, so you're going to have foul trouble in games that long. But,
right.
I was very impressed with what I saw from Texas A&M and from Northern Iowa as well. I think their coach will be snapped up by a bigger team in this offseason. I think there's a pretty solid chance of that happening with the way Northern Iowa has played lately.
Definitely. We'll get into Alex Caruso a little bit now then. Someone who's not a scorer, he can score, but for this team, he's been more of a distributor and leader, and he's the reason they won that game. He absolutely took over.
Yeah, absolutely. He's certainly the engine of that team in the same way that you see from a lot of guards. It's always a big feature in the NCAA tournaments. You just see these guards who are just the absolute engines for their teams. But speaking of that, I think that I was really impressed with what I saw from Daniel House also in that game. I don't know about you, but he impressed me as much as Caruso did, especially towards the end of that game.
Yeah.
He was certainly a presence in that game.
Yeah, he was, I think, 0 for 9 to start out, and then started banging threes at the end of the game, which brought him all the way back. So. Right,
he ended up with 22 points, and he got almost all of them in the fourth quarter in overtime.
Yeah.
And he's not a great shooter, House. But,
he's streaky. If he gets going, he can make some.
Right. He averaged 16 points a game during the season, and but in his last 3 games, he scored 32, 20, and 22. And he's catching fire at the right time. He's going to be difficult for Oklahoma to handle, I think.
Definitely. Especially when they don't play. They play defense, but not a lot of it.
No.
But luckily for Oklahoma, they have the Player of the Year on their team, in Buddy Hield.
That's always going to be helpful.
So, that's definitely going to be good. Another great team with a great backcourt with Cousins and Woodard and Buddy Hield. Buddy just coming off a 36-point game, just a little bit mind-blowing to me against a team like VCU. He had over 25 in the first round too, didn't he?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, so he's on fire.
He's been impressive all season, obviously.
Definitely.
He was the leading scorer of major conference players during the regular season as well, and he has shown no signs of slowing down, certainly so far. I think that the Oklahoma game is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, who you going to go with in that one?
I'm going to stick with what I had in my original bracket, which is I had Oklahoma getting to the Final Four, so I'm not going to back off that here. I think Texas A&M is going to be tougher than I anticipated from what I've seen from them so far, but I think as good as their performance was later in the Northern Iowa game, their performance earlier in it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Which shows like the inconsistency of that team, and so obviously Oklahoma's gonna have trouble guarding some of these guys, House and Caruso. But I think that Texas A&M is probably, in my opinion, going to have even more trouble guarding Oklahoma.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. In my original bracket,
I don't know who guards Buddy in that game.
it's got to be. I mean, Caruso. What's Caruso? 6'4"?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, and so is Buddy. But I don't know. I just have a hard time seeing Caruso being able to stay in front of him, as scrappy as he is.
Well,
pretty much nobody's been able to stay in front of Buddy all season.
Yeah.
He averaged 25 in the regular season, and in the tournament, he scored 27 and 36 in the 2 games. So.
right. But between Caruso and House, one of them's going to be guarding Cousins, and the other one will guard Buddy. So probably House will guard Buddy, and I don't know how tested his defense is.
That's what I'd expect. But then you're gonna have, to have somebody guard Jordan Woodard as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they have some, and Spangler. They just have
There's
so
just
much.
Right. Exactly. Not even to mention Spangler. There's just so much backcourt talent.
Yeah. So I picked Texas A&M in the bracket. I'll stick with it just because it's the bracket, but gut would definitely be going with Oklahoma here. I think Oklahoma's the better team, and I think Oklahoma will pull it out. But I gotta stick with Texas A&M.
Yep.
Then we're gonna go into a. Oh wait, we gotta go to Duke first. How could I ever forget that? So Duke, Oregon. Duke played pretty well against what I think is a very good UNC Wilmington team, better than I was expecting. Hung on for dear life pretty much, and feel like they led by 8 the whole game, but that's how it finished. And then they played Yale, who impressed me against Baylor with Makai Mason just dominating. Shut down Makai Mason to 8 points, like 2 of 6 or 2 of 7 shooting, and really scared me because they're up 23 at half, and it was down to 6 before I blinked, but hung on, thank God.
Duke has definitely some of the best concentrated talent in the entire country. They have NBA prospects in Grayson Allen and Brandon Ingram, who's looking increasingly likely to be the #1 pick in the draft.
Potentially the best 1-2 punch in college basketball.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that. And I think, despite being a UNC fan, I would actually agree with that. But with that all said, I don't see them getting past Oregon. Oregon has a lot of things that are going to make Duke struggle. They have 7 guys averaging over 20 minutes a game, so they have depth, which is one of their biggest strengths, and Duke does not have that.
Say that again.
So I think that I absolutely love what I saw from both Dylan Brooks, who was Pac-12 Player of the Year. He was obviously very impressive. There was a lot of talk about him, but I was just as impressed with Tyler Dorsey in the St. Joe's game. He was the one who was ultimately hitting the daggers that were killing St. Joe's.
After struggling so badly to start the game, and as a freshman, you'd expect him to take himself out of the game pretty much with his head and everything, and he just answered the bell for sure.
Yeah, I mean, his stat line for the game isn't eye-popping. I mean, he only scored 14 points. It's not, I don't know, it wasn't some 36-point Buddy Hield performance. But the thing with Oregon is that it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, definitely.
They have so many guys that can score. And Dorsey showed a ton of poise at the end of that game, I thought, and I was very impressed with what I saw.
Yep. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about Luke Kennard from Duke. He can have 0, he can have 30, he can have 10. Yep. He's someone, fun fact, Ohio, Mr. Basketball in the state of Ohio, 2nd place in all-time scoring behind the one and only St. Vincent St. Mary product, LeBron James. so he can definitely score it.
Yeah.
He averaged, I think it was 42 a game his senior year, which is like, I can't even fathom that. But if he starts to make shots early on in the game, you'll see he'll take 3 or 4 shots early on, and if he can get all of those or miss one, he's gonna be hot for the whole game. Against Yale, I think with like 6 minutes left in the first half, Ingram had 11, Grayson Allen had 12, and Kennard had 11. So if they get a game like that from all 3 of those guys, I think they can hang with Oregon. The problem I see in the game, and I said this to you earlier, is I don't see how Marshall Plumlee can survive in this game. There's no one for him to guard, and he's not quick enough, he's not coordinated enough, he's not athletic enough to hang with anyone in Oregon.
I'm not sure you can follow Dylan Brooks across half court.
Exactly.
Reach the half court line before Brooks hits the rim.
Right, and pull up and take a 3 in your face once he runs right by you.
Right.
I think if they had Emil Jefferson, they'd be in real good shape, but that ship has sailed.
Yeah, that's been obviously the caveat for Duke this whole time. It's like, well, if they had Jefferson, then things might be different.
Yeah. But it'll be a good one, I think.
I had Duke going to the Elite Eight in my original bracket, but that's because I had them facing St. Joe's, so I don't feel bad about picking Oregon over Duke here.
Yep.
I think that this Oregon team has so much that they can throw at you. And they just have multiple guys who can get rebounds. They have 4 different guys over 5 rebounds a game, 4 different guys over 10 points a game, 8 guys over 20 minutes a game. I mean, there's just so much that they can do here.
Yep. And I picked Oregon originally, which really hurt me actually when I look back at it. But I'm gonna continue. It's just the mismatch with Plumlee. Then you take him off the court, and we have no rebounding. So I see Oregon getting by to face. I said Texas A&M. Jonah said Oklahoma. I think the winner of Oklahoma Texas A&M is gonna make the Final Four.
I agree with you.
I just think there's too much talent, and they have a little bit more experience in Oregon. I feel like Oregon hasn't been here in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Oklahoma's necessarily a superior team to Duke in every respect, but I think that they're much better matchup against Oregon than Duke is.
Yeah, their big guys are just more.
I think the Texas A&M is as well.
Yeah.
But I have Oklahoma winning that game, advance to the Final Four. You have Texas A&M.
And I would have Oklahoma as well. So.
Yeah, and I would have Texas A&M also beating Oregon.
All right, so that gives us the Final Four matchup of Kansas and either Oklahoma or Texas A&M. We won't talk about that one yet. We'll wait till next week. Hopefully we get to that one.
Yeah, of course.
So then we're gonna go into a little stat of the week trivia question here for Jonah. You ready?
Yes, I have not looked up the answers to this.
All right,
so.
this is the first time Jonah's seeing this. So,
yeah.
Who are the top 3 3-point percentage NBA players this year?
Well, Steph's one of them.
He is one of them. Good guess. Tough one right there.
Is Clay one of them?
Nope.
He's got to be up there, though.
Yeah, he's probably top 5.
Kawhi?
Yes. What number?
Kawhi's probably second.
Yep. Who's first?
Steph, right?
No.
Oh, Steph's 3?
Yeah.
Okay, first would be, give me a total conference.
I'll give you a hint. We just talked about his team.
We just talked.
His college team. Yeah.
It's not JJ Redick.
You're damn right, it's JJ Redick.
JJ Redick.
48%. 48 freaking percent.
And that's high volume, too.
I know, that's all he shoots.
I mean, like, level of difficulty compared to Steph and Kawhi is probably
not even close.
lower.
Yeah, not even close.
Because he's just he's getting open corner threes and the way their offense works. He's not the primary ball handler, obviously.
48% is still 48% though.
But 48% is pretty damn good.
And then you have, I think, Kawhi's at 45, and then Steph's at 42.5, so like 43.
Jeez.
It's kind of funny to say that someone's shooting 43% from 3 and they're not even in the top 2 of NBA players.
This is like truly like a turning point era for the NBA.
Thank God. I'm so sick of seeing like Charles Barkley stick his ass into somebody and back down.
Yeah, that was not an interesting way to play basketball, in my opinion.
Yeah. But yeah, we just thought that would be a fun little stat, and I wanted to give Jonah some trivia on air so he could show his stuff.
I did better than I expected there.
You did.
I really thought Clay would be one of them, but your hit for Redick was what did it for me.
Yeah. You should have known, man. You should have known I would have found a way to put something about Duke in here.
Yeah, I know. I should have known that.
So, with that being said, we'll move into UNC's region, the East region. So, we want to talk a little bit about Stephen F. Austin. I know they're not in the tournament anymore, but they really impressed us with the way they played West Virginia. They had 7 turnovers against a team that literally just feasts on your turnovers, and actually turned West Virginia over 26 times.
Yeah, that was probably the most dominant performance by a 14 seed that I've ever seen. I mean, they was like the 3 seed, and West Virginia was like the 14 in that game.
Yeah.
That game was like rarely in doubt. They ended up winning by 14.
It was kind of incredible.
Yeah, and they should have beaten Notre Dame as well.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I like that Thomas Walkup kid a lot. I mean, he literally does it all.
Yeah, he's a super impressive player, and it was a shame to see his run come to an end so quickly. He looked like the kind of guy who everybody remembers from the Cinderella team that goes far in the tournament. He was like tailor-made for that role. And neither of us like Notre Dame that much.
Yeah, they don't have anyone so special that makes me want to pick them ever.
Yeah, they just don't have anybody that really blows me away. And yeah, do you want to talk about the Notre Dame-Wisconsin matchup?
Yeah, sure. Not a matchup I like very much, but
yeah, I did have Wisconsin getting to this point. I'm pretty proud of that projection.
All right, come on now. That was 2 biggest threes I've ever seen with Bronson Koenig.
But they hung with Xavier that whole game. It's not like
no, they didn't. It wasn't like they just shocked the world, but like that buzzer beater was something else.
That was one of the highest like level of difficulty shots. I mean,
yeah, Steph Curry-esque.
It was a fadeaway 3 from practically behind the basket
with 2 hands in his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a shot you're gonna see made every day.
After hitting a 3 to tie it with 15 seconds before.
Yeah, I mean, I have Wisconsin beating Notre Dame at this point. I had them losing West Virginia originally in this spot, but I think that this is a really talented team. People have been talking about Bronson Koenig a lot because of that shot, and rightfully so. But I really like what I've seen this season also from Nigel Hayes. And I think that he hasn't had a big tournament so far. He only had 6 points against Xavier, didn't make a 3. But I think that if he can have a good performance against Notre Dame, if they could beat Xavier without that good performance, they can certainly beat Notre Dame with a good performance from Nigel Hayes.
Yeah, definitely. He's actually projected as a 2nd-round pick in the draft, which kind of surprised me. But then when I thought about it, he doesn't have much of a position in the NBA, I guess. Kind of like a Draymond Green, but I don't think he's that talented. But he's definitely a good player. I saw him against Maryland and really liked what I saw against the Terps. I think he's going to be a tough matchup for Notre Dame just because they don't have, I mean, Zach August. I hate Zach August just because I don't even know why. But not a big fan, and I don't think he can get out and guard Nigel Hayes around the
I'm not a huge fan of him either. I'm not a real huge fan of anybody Notre Dame has. I think this is a worse team than they had last year, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that this Wisconsin team, they've had some bumps in the road this season, but I think that they're still a team where all of these guys, all of the main contributors on this team, besides Ethan Happ, have had experience in big games before they were in the national championship game last year. These guys have been there, and they showed a lot to me against Xavier, which is a much tougher opponent than Notre Dame.
Yep. So you're gonna go Wisconsin. I'm gonna go
Yep.
Notre Dame just because I like Mike Bray a little bit better than Greg Gard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Also
it's gonna be a close one, and I guess just because a little bit of an ACC bias over here, but I'm gonna give it to Notre Dame to face another ACC team in North Carolina.
Yeah, I think that I like what I've seen from North Carolina a lot. I mean, I'm not just saying it because I'm a North Carolina fan.
I mean, you were only up 1 on a 16 seed at halftime. Just saying.
We won by 16. It turned out all right. and the Providence game was never really in doubt.
Yeah.
That they played really well against a Providence team I thought would be tougher. I'm not sure if that was a great performance from UNC or a bad one from Providence or some mixture of the two. But I don't know if Indiana really has an answer for Bryce Johnson in this game.
Yeah, I like Thomas Bryant a little bit. I think he's gonna get in foul trouble though against the bigs of UNC.
Yeah, I just think UNC. I mean, before I talk about how I have UNC winning this game by 97,000 points, I've been very pleasantly surprised by Indiana. Neither of us like them that much going into this tournament.
Yeah, I still don't really like them though.
Yeah, I mean, my skepticism remains, but they played really well against Kentucky.
Yeah, they did for sure.
And Kentucky was certainly a more talented team than they were, and they still felt in control of that game to me.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's buying in on Indiana now. Like, oh, the Final Four, here you go, watch out.
I'm not really there yet. I'm not a big Tom Crean fan.
Yeah, I'm honestly...
I know you don't like Roy Williams that much, but I think we can both agree he's a better coach than Tom Crean.
Yeah, I'm not even really close to thinking Indiana has anything to get to the Final Four. I think they caught Kentucky on a cold night, really. Ulis wasn't... I mean, he ended with a solid stat line, but he missed some shots I've seen him make with his eyes closed all year long. Jamal Murray never got going. I think they just... Although they definitely shut Kentucky down, I think they also caught him on a bad night.
Yeah. I think this path in the East region could not have really set up much better for UNC. I mean, they're either going to play a Wisconsin team that can have some trouble scoring, or,
who scored, 46 in the first round?
Yeah,
and
47.
won a game?
Yeah. Or a Notre Dame team that they had zero problem with whatsoever in the ACC tournament. So I think this sets up really well for UNC to get to the Final Four, and I'm going to have them over Wisconsin in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, and I would have UNC over Notre Dame after they just beat them by, 41 in the ACC tournament?
Let me look at the exact score because I want to get this right.
It was something ridiculous. Whatever it was,
I want to talk about how dominant that performance was.
Whatever it was, it wasn't as even close as it was in real life.
Yeah, I mean, right. It was one of those games. Let's see, the final score was 78-47. So yeah, it was 31 points.
But it felt like 60.
But yeah, that game was never in doubt.
I think your walk-ons played the entire second half, if I remember correctly.
And we still won by 31. So, yeah, I mean, Bryce Johnson with his 17 and 11 is going to be too much for anybody left in this region.
And just quickly, I am insanely surprised, I guess, and impressed by Joel Berry.
Yeah, I mean, he's been like definitely an X factor for them.
He's making shots. He's getting to the rim. He's not turning it over. Marcus Page, He's only he's averaging like 9 a game, right?
Like over the whole season, he's averaging 12.
Yeah, which I mean, he's a 20 on any given night kind of guy, but it's not been that way this year, and it's more because they're focused on getting the ball into the post. I understand that, but he's also been a little bit cold, and I think Joel Berry's been maybe the most important player on the team.
Yeah, I mean, people always talk about Bryce, obviously, and for good reason.
Yeah.
But Joel Berry's been consistently. I mean, he's averaged. He's had at least he's top 10 points in every game since the first Duke game when he had 8. But every game in the last month he's had over 10 points, and he's been a super consistent figure for them in the backcourt when a lot of people think of Bryce Johnson as their main guy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we got UNC over whoever, Notre Dame or Wisconsin, regardless, doesn't matter. So we'll go to the Midwest now. Just quickly, we're pretty impressed by Josh Higgins from Arkansas Little Rock. I've never seen a guy so little make so many huge shots. I mean, he was taking pull-up threes at the end of the game. I told everyone Purdue was going to get up and blow the lead, and thank you very much. I was exactly right on that one.
Yep, I should have listened to you on that one.
I think Virginia looks pretty freaking solid. Gonzaga is telling everyone they deserve to be in this tournament, and a lot of people are listening finally. I know I went off on Syracuse. Still don't like them. Dayton missed 15 layups, shot 30%, and we're 50% from the free throw line. Yes, Cuse played good D, but not that good of a defense where you can miss 15 layups. Come on now. I mean, Syracuse won the game shooting 38%. Let's be real. That's not an Elite 8 team. That's not a Final Four team. Luckily, Sabonis is coming into town to destroy the center of that zone.
Yeah, is this 11-seeded Gonzaga team the best Gonzaga team that we've seen in a long time, or is that just me?
Sabonis is the best player since Adam Morrison. I know that.
Yeah, I was reading something that said he was the best pro prospect that Gonzaga has had since Morrison.
I think he's better than Morrison, to be honest with you.
Which is pretty interesting. I mean, because Kelly Olynyk's not a terrible NBA player.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I mean, Sabonis was so impressive, not only against Seton Hall, but especially against Utah when he went up against
Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah, Jakob, whatever. who's supposed to be like a top 5 pick, and now he was completely neutralized by Sabonis in that game.
Yeah.
I was just so impressed by what I saw, and that's not even to mention Kyle Wiltjer, Eric McClellan, Josh Perkins. There's a lot of talent on this Gonzaga team, and this is probably the best shot they have in a Final Four in a while.
Yeah, they're feeling good. They're making shots. The confidence through the roof. All of which spells disaster for a Syracuse team. I said it. I know I said it against Dayton, but this time it's not just hatred.
I don't see anywhere Syracuse beats this team.
Yeah, I think Gonzaga is way too.
I will die on this hill if I have to. Syracuse is not getting to the Elite 8 over my dead body.
They did get bailed out getting to play Middle Tennessee State, who I still thought could have beat them, but so.
Yeah, I mean, Middle Tennessee, you can't expect a 15 seed to win twice.
Yeah.
The Michigan State game took quite a bit out of them. But
took every shot they had.
Let's give them a lot of credit. They scored 90 points against Michigan State.
Oh yeah, no, they made Denzel Valentine look like he shouldn't even be in the discussion for Player of the Year.
Yeah, and it's probably going to come down to Buddy Hield and a guy we're going to talk about right now, Malcolm Brogdon for Virginia.
So we have, just to clear that one up, in case it wasn't obvious enough, we have the team that starts with a G in that game. Gonzaga going to roll Syracuse, thank God. Which then brings us to the 1-4 matchup, which I did not see coming, but Iowa State has actually impressed me pretty much the whole tournament. George Niang, 28 in both games so far. Virginia struggles with the stretch four, if you couldn't tell when they played against Butler. Shrabitz went off. Brandon Ingram killed them earlier in the year. So I think Niang is definitely going to get his. I just think Virginia has a little bit more. I think Malcolm Brogdon is the next Kawhi Leonard, but he's a little bit ahead of him already offensively, where Kawhi was in college, not right now in real life.
Wow, that's bold.
I know it is.
But
Kawhi couldn't even shoot coming out of San Diego State, and then all of a sudden it took him 2 years, and now he's in second.
He's the second best three-point shooter in that game.
Yeah. So, I mean, Brogdon's scoring really well. He plays great defense, so he's close.
I love this Virginia team. I think, I don't know, everybody always talks about Brogdon, but I've been super, super impressed by their other main guys, London Parantes, who's a point guard who's just everywhere. He's the engine of this team, even though Brogdon is its best player. And he doesn't necessarily score a lot of points, but he's always making things happen. He's very good on both ends of the floor. He can make plays, play defense. But the guy I've been most impressed with outside Brogdon on this team is Anthony Gill. He was a transfer from South Carolina, and he was an absolute beast against Butler in the last round. They had nobody who could guard Anthony Gill.
Yeah, he's so athletic, and he just poses so many problems for so many people.
Yeah, I mean, he put up 19 and 8 in that game. He was absolutely destroying people by the rim. I mean, granted, Butler is not the greatest inside team in the country.
Right.
But yeah, I think that Virginia is just a deep, solid team.
Yeah.
And if they don't have to play Michigan State, they might actually get to the Final Four.
Seriously. I just think they're too good defensively for Iowa State. I know Iowa State can score it, but they haven't played a team like Virginia, I don't think, yet. So I expect Virginia to not shut them down, but to slow them down and win this game comfortably, which would give us Virginia against Gonzaga, and I'm going to go with Virginia again. I think Anthony Gill can contend with Sabonis, at least, for a little while.
I think the biggest reason that Virginia would beat Gonzaga is Gonzaga has nobody who can guard Brogdon in any way.
Yeah. And Virginia has people that can guard Sabonis and Wilcher.
Yeah, I mean, you said they've had problems with stretch fours, but I don't know, Wilcher and Sabonis are like, they're both kind of stretch fives in a way.
Yeah.
They're both like very tall guys who can shoot the ball. And I think that Gonzaga is going to give them problems. I don't think it's going to be an easy game for Virginia. And I wasn't even that high in Gonzaga going into this tournament, but like, just what I've seen from them so far is really impressive. I think they'll cause even teams against Virginia problems, but I think that it's going to be tough to stop Virginia.
Yeah, I agree. So we got Virginia in that one. So my final. What's that?
That sets up for both of us: Virginia, North Carolina, all ACC.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, we don't have 4 ACC teams in the Final Four. I would have liked that, but
yeah, you could have had
Miami and Duke could have been there.
Miami, yeah, that would have been something.
So I have Kansas, Texas A&M, and then UNC Virginia.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my Kansas, UNC, Oklahoma that I had going into the tournament originally, and I'm going to replace Michigan State with Virginia in the Midwest region.
Anything that happens from here on out, it's going to be a great Final Four, I think. Anyways.
Yeah, I think this has been, I mean, rarely does a tournament go by that we don't declare it the best tournament ever. But this, at least, was one of the best first weekends ever, I think.
Definitely. So many buzzer beaters, so many close games, so many exciting moments. It was too good to miss.
So, yeah, we will be talking about the Final Four and previewing it next week. We look forward to talking about that.
Hopefully both our teams are still in it by that point.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even mind if Maryland was in it. Then we could have Maryland Duke. I could have a lot to talk about there.
Maryland, Duke, UNC. Yeah, that'd be something. But so do you want to talk about the NBA for a little bit?
Yeah, we'll switch gears and give you something new. We're gonna start talking about the loaded East, where every team seems like they're separated by one game.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pull up the standings real quick just to see where everything stands right now in the Eastern Conference. But yeah, right now the Cavs and the Raptors are the only teams with a legitimate shot to get the number 1 seed. But there are the 3 through 6 seeds are separated by half a game. You have Miami, Atlanta, Boston, and Charlotte all at either 40 or 41 wins.
That's ridiculous.
So this Eastern Conference, I mean, there's been running jokes for years about how bad the NBA Eastern Conference is, but it might not have the top level talent of the West, but it's probably deeper than the West at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's deeper because there's less talent in all reality, but there's less room for error, I guess, also.
Yeah, there's a lot that can happen here. I mean, neither of us like this Cleveland team at all.
Which will give me great couple seconds here to talk about my Miami Heat against the Cavs.
Yes, please do. Please feel welcome, because I will not be talking much about my New York Knicks in the context of the playoff discussion.
So Miami just stuck it to the old teammate LeBron James. The king was not the king that night. Joe Johnson's proving to be potentially the best signing in a really long time at the waiver wire. He's averaging, I think, like 18 a game since he came to Miami, shooting it really well. Miami's starting to finally play up-tempo. Thank God. That's the reason they got Goran Dragic and all those players. Dwayne Wade's going to have to sit some games out probably, but the up-tempo has just helped them tremendously. They still have some hiccups every now and again, but I think the faster they play, the better they're going to be. And I really can see them giving the Cavs a run for their money, because Dwayne Wade is, in my opinion, one of the most clutch players in the NBA. Seems like every playoff series, he always makes a statement at some point in time when Miami needs him most.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see in the conference finals any two of Cleveland, Toronto, Miami, Atlanta, or even Boston.
Yep.
None of those teams would surprise me to see. I just want to talk about the Celtics for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a team that's, like, on paper, doesn't really look that good. I mean, if you just look at, like, their roster, it's a bunch of guys that that have not necessarily been super sought after. I mean, they're rolling out a crunch time lineup that's Isaiah Thomas, Marcus Smart, Avery Bradley. So right away, you got basically 3 point guards,
and then three guys who struggle to shoot it a lot.
And then Jay Crowder and like Jared Sullinger. Like this is a really unconventional crunch time lineup.
Yeah, it's a group of late first round picks, basically, just putting something together.
But this is a team that is 24-12 at home. If they can get home court in the first round of the series, which obviously those 3 through 6 seeds can finish in any order. But if they can get home court in the first round, they've given really good teams problems. They almost beat Golden State. They took them double overtime, eventually causing them to have their first loss of the season.
Yep.
Next night in the back-to-back to the Bucks. But I like the Celtics team a lot. I really also like your Miami team a whole lot. And I also like Toronto quite a bit.
I do like Toronto a lot, too. And quick note on Boston, they also own Brooklyn's draft picks until eternity, so that's always helpful.
Right, so this Boston team could be in an NBA Finals before too long.
Definitely. So I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick.
All right.
Who are you going with to represent the East in the finals?
Oh boy. strongly considering the Miami Heat.
Whew. Don't jinx me now. Come on. Give me something to believe in.
I think I'd be surprised I'd be very surprised if it was anybody other than Cleveland, Toronto, or Miami. I mean, we talk about how much we hate Cleveland a lot, but like
it's LeBron James.
They still have LeBron James.
Yeah.
And they still have Kyrie Irving, and
right.
even if they don't figure out how to play with each other, they're definitely the most talented team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, for sure.
So you don't want to write them off, but I don't like what I've seen from them, to put it lightly.
Yeah. I'm going to go, for the first time in my life, against LeBron James, and I'm going to go with Toronto. I really like DeRozan and the combo of DeRozan and Lowry. I think they're tough.
That would be huge for Toronto basketball if they made it to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
And I think those fans deserve it. They're some of the best fans in the league. And yeah, I mean, any of those top three teams right now wouldn't surprise me much to win the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, definitely. So quick NBA draft note, and then we'll move on. So Chris Broussard, who's the NBA insider for ESPN, reported yesterday that the top talent evaluator for college basketball players in the NBA said he would take Ingram over Ben Simmons and run away because he thinks he's so close to Kevin Durant and will be so much better than Ben Simmons. And he said he would like to have the second pick in the draft because he thinks there's going to be so much pressure on whoever's number one to take Ben Simmons, but whoever takes Ingram is going to make out a lot better.
There's a lot of concern emerging about Ben Simmons. I mean,
I don't think he has the motor that he needs to be the best.
He's a little bit passive.
Yeah, I think he just wasn't interested is the problem.
And it's not ideal that he can't really shoot.
Yeah, that's definitely not ideal at all.
He took 3 3-point attempts this year and made one of them. So.
And he seemed to go the LeBron style and try to distribute at the end of games when they needed him to score on a team like LSU where nobody knows anyone else.
On this LSU team, he was the guy. You gotta be the guy.
Yeah, you gotta want to be the guy, and you gotta have the killer instinct. And I don't think he has it, which isn't a terrible thing. It's just I wouldn't take him number one with what I've seen from Brandon Ingram so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Ben Simmons has a very high ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just a question of whether he'll be able to reach it. I mean,
yeah.
Either of those guys, Ingram and Simmons, have the potential to make the team that passes on them regret it for the rest of their lives.
Definitely.
So it's going to be a difficult call for whoever has the first pick.
I was thinking about yesterday the potential of Jordan Clarkson, D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle, and Brandon Ingram on the same team, and it gave me chills.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like there, even on the team that's been as terrible as the Lakers.
Yeah, but they picked a good year to not be that great because there's some potential in this draft.
If they get Ingram, they have to fire Byron Scott immediately. We'll throw him quicker than anything.
So that's our NBA wrap up for the week. I know we didn't talk about the Spurs Warriors game, but there wasn't much to talk about there. Spurs played great D. Warriors didn't shoot well. Spurs win. There's 2 more games. We'll talk a lot about that in the future.
I expect we'll be talking plenty about the Spurs and the Warriors
for a long time to come.
Yeah, and for potentially many years in advance.
So, to end the show today, we're going to talk about what's actually about to have the first pitch here in 15 minutes. The Rays in Cuba.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big deal, even outside of sports. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the news, you're following the political aspects of it, but President Obama landed in Cuba this week. This was the first time a U.S. president has been to Cuba since the communist revolution there, and this is a very big deal politically. But to go along with that, as often goes along with political stories internationally, is we have a sports story that goes along with it. And the Tampa Bay Rays have gone down to Cuba with the presidential delegation to play an exhibition game against the Cuban national team in Cuba, which is the first time there's been an MLB presence in Cuba. And I think that this is just one example of how sports can contribute to a more like open and free and like generally happy society, I think.
Yeah, that's what sports was made for. I mean, it's supposed to connect people. It's supposed to impact people. It's role models that should do what they can for society. Chris Archer, a great example of that, doing literally everything he can. Got a kid who's not even on the 40-man roster on Tampa, who defected from Cuba 3 years ago to go to the MLB, left his whole family behind, hasn't seen him. He got him to be called up to the Rays just for this game, to travel with them. He's batting leadoff. He's playing left field in front of millions of his friends, family, everyone. There's 55,000 people in the stadium. Started getting there at 8 a.m. this morning for a 1:50 first pitch. It's the biggest crowd since 2002 Yankee Stadium. It just shows you how big an impact sports can have on society.
Yeah, I mean, Cuba is crazy about baseball, always has been, even since before Castro or whatever. And I think that if the U.S. and Cuba begin to have closer relations and aren't enemies anymore, besides any way you might feel about that politically, it's going to be great for baseball, for sports in general, and great for people in both countries, I think, to just have something that they can share, like, with sports and baseball.
Yeah.
I think Chris Archer is an example of that. I think that the players who have come from Cuba, who will soon be able to go back there to their families, become ambassadors for the sport, guys like Jose Fernandez, Yasiel Puig, and Cespedes on the Mets, my favorite team, I think that that's going to be great for everyone involved.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully it happens in more than just baseball here in the near future.
Yeah, of course, and hopefully that can happen. Hopefully that can be a bridge just for any political topics that you have. I mean, I'm very interested in politics, but stuff like sports can often have a really positive impact on that and can bring people together in a way that few other things can really do.
Definitely, and just a reason we love sports today and what it can do for us.
It's our feel-good story of the week.
Yeah, so with that, we're going to leave you for the week and see you back here next week. Thanks again for listening, and hopefully the bracket's still looking good. I know a lot of people, it's the exact opposite of that, but we tried.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck to all of you on your brackets. Good luck to ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Next week we'll be talking a little bit about baseball with opening day coming up that week. We'll be talking about the Final Four. We will talk some more about the NBA and maybe even a little bit of golf discussion with the Masters coming up soon.
Yeah,
so
gonna start to get in every sport.
You guys, and we're excited to continue with this. Thank you all so much for listening. And you got anything else to sign off with? Or?
I think we're good. We'll see you back here next week.
All right. See you next week.
All right.